Based on the world's knowledge of zombies through films and other media, how do you think humanity would actually fare in a zombie outbreak? I think it all depends on how the zombie virus spreads. If it's airborne, we're pretty FD. If it's through a bite like a normal zombie movie, then I think it would end fairly quickly. This of course is assuming it starts in a place with law enforcement, military or rednecks, aka, people with guns. It also depends on how the outbreak starts. It's a lot more likely for a single patient zero to get stopped than a large mass of zombies coming from some unsanctioned lab. If it did get out of hand Walking Dead style, the zombies would inevitably run out of their food supply and their bodies would decompose. Worst case scenario I can see would be something like Nation. Virus that triggers on death or on bite from another zombie, airborne. Basically everyone infected before the actual apocalypse starts. Still wouldn't be as bad as most shows movies claim. Zombies in the Brad Pitt movie or I'm Legend would be tough, man. Shaun of the Dead would be a howl. I'm Legend is about vampires. Sure, the corpses that they resurrect could be called zombies, but in the end they are still completely different to normal zombies. Normal zombies don't think I'm Legend vampires are afraid of Will Smith and think that he's the big bad guy that abducts them while they are sleeping during the day. The corpses don't even resurrect in that movie, do they? I don't remember it happening on screen. I do remember Will Smith explaining how 90% of the population dies, around 12 million remain normal, and the remaining people all changed and then preyed upon those normal people. Plus, the captured creature starts to turn human again when he finds the cure. Not possible if she had died and been reanimated. Fairly well, the US government actually have a protocol for the event of a zombie outbreak. Depending on the source of the outbreak, the US would honestly be in a pretty good situation geographically. More than enough naval and air power to effectively seal off the country. As long as it didn't start in North America and spread like wildfire, the US would fare pretty well. Their big expanse of territory would also mean plenty of time to seal off the cities before it spread, assuming it only spreads their bites. Zombies would take a long ass time to walk between population centers. I don't think so at all, lol. If it starts in the Americas, the US has pretty porous borders, in the north even more so than the south. The person you're responding to said, as long as it didn't start in North America. Depends on the nature of the outbreak. Are we talking runners like 28 days later, or classic Romero shufflers? Also, is the virus active in killing people and then resurrecting them like Walking Dead? Or is it resurrecting all the dead still in a condition to be resurrected like the classic Night of the Living Dead, who then just go about attacking people? Regardless, I don't think any of these would spell the imminent demise of humanity on the level that is depicted in zombie media. There's simply too much we have going for us as intelligent beings with access to large amounts of sophisticated technology. These questions just determine how much society will have to change and how long it would take to get things re-established to our current level of civilization. Some people would get way too intense about it way too quickly. News: possible zombie outbreak on different continent. People, let's buy all the guns and take over a Walmart. That is a classic example on why gamers will be the first to die. Exhaustion will set in within minutes. Haha. Proof that gamers are the most oppressed people in the world. You're telling me my years of experience in training isn't going to help me? Experience and planning is not useful when you physically cannot perform the actions required. That's a pretty bold assumption, thinking that gamers aren't physically active. Just leaving E3 can confirm. We'd be just fine, I think. Zombie films massively underestimate just how absolutely lethal the world's militaries are. Even a poorly funded third world army would have no trouble dispatching a huge human wave assault made up of unthinking entities armed with just their teeth. The biggest issue would pretty much be dealing with all the trigger happy panicky idiots who'd gun down or freak out at the first person they see coughing, or the morons who treat the outbreak as a sign of the apocalypse and start causing trouble. Basically, living idiotic people would be far more of a problem than the zombies would be. It really depends on the how zombieism spreads. If it's virus that only spreads through contact with an infected, then the zombie outbreak will be something we occasionally hear about afflicting rural villages and underdeveloped countries. People are going to be highly motivated not to interact with infected. So look at Ebola. We've been able to contain that pretty well in the developed world, and it's not like a zombie is going to board a plane and accidentally start an outbreak in another country. Literally any building with multiple floors could be turned into an impregnable fortress. Barricade, destroy the stairs. Get a ladder you can lift up. Second though, do you know how ridiculous larger mobile autocannons are on Navy ships? Couple of those with enough ammunition could essentially indefinitely hold off a zombie swarm. Also, tanks. Impregnable? I don't want to impregnate any fortress. Doubt the zombies will either. Against the typical shambler type zombies we'd do really well, especially in parts of the world that haven't restricted weapons. In Texas the zombies would have no hope, and it would all be over in a couple of weeks. Now against the 28 weeks later zombies, yes I know they're really infected, we might not do so well. They reproduce too quickly and attack at frightening speed. I think humanity would still win, but the losses would be frightening. We would do pretty well. Humans have built-in limiters that protect our muscles. If you're dead then those limiters aren't working, and the zombies will quickly deteriorate their muscles mass, and then they'll be useless. Also, without the limiters our muscles will constantly be at 100%, so the zombies won't be able to move, because movement comes from the tension and relaxation of muscles. Most zombie fiction relies on governments and military being utterly incompetent, which despite your political leanings, is not actually reality. The Battle of Yonkers is a great example. There might be a general or two that panics and sets things up badly, but the US military is designed for ground level leadership. The captains and NCOs on the ground would have fixed things long before the battle turned. I live in North America. If we are talking about the unintelligent, shambling, rotting zombies, they are going to freeze in the winter, explode in the summer, and get eaten by animals. There are enough stray dogs and cats to cause them a problem in cities, and when you get outside of cities, there are coyotes, wolves, bears, and mountain lions to deal with. These are just strange representations. We still don't know how a real zombie might look like. The zombies would be eaten by bugs. There would be so many more flies all over the place. Maggots plus scavengers equals zombies are useless. Doesn't matter how undead you are, you're not chasing people when all your muscle tissue has been stripped from your bones. I mean, muscle mass rots, right? I bet some important people would remember this and get the message through. All we had to do was to keep the infection under control by protecting the people until the zombies rot away. That's what the movie 28 Days gets right. Those buggers have gotta starve eventually. They will not. Why? Well, people with asthma, glasses, diabetes, epilepsy, autist, Down syndrome and other diseases will die by the lack medicines, and for people of glasses not being able to change the lenses or the frame of the glasses. By the way, there is a chance that the humanity will survive. Humans would never survive. Honestly, I think humans would succumb to exhaustion, lack of food and water, and the element more than the actual zombies, because the world would eventually fall apart. After all, we all know what happens in urban centers when the power goes out for a day or two. Lol. I don't get why people imagine it as 90% of the world dying in a week. If it were to happen, it would realistically be a disease, so it would be like the flu, random pocket outbreaks. Much scarier when you consider that we'd continue life as normal, but have to find a way to cope with it. I think the author of World War Z is a time traveler from the future, and that is pretty much exactly how it will go. The author of World War Z had to weld the idiot ball into his characters to make his ridiculous plot work. People are idiots, so I'm fine with that. I'd say pretty well. There are weapons to use, farms to get food from, bunkers for protection, and the surviving countries, assuming the government hasn't fallen and law and order is still intact, could work in tandem with each other for a cure. Largely depends on what film TV show we are basing it on. Walking Dead world would be easy. The military would have wiped them out at the beginning and it wouldn't have gotten so bad. However, let's say 28 days later type, we wouldn't stand a chance. Now that you think about it, everyone will probably go Walking Dead and start shooting everything that moves. Me. I'm going to grab some winter clothing to move up into northern Canada. Frostbite will take care of any zombies pretty quickly. It depends entirely on the type of zombie scenario. Can the zombies feel pain? Do they decay? Can they run, jump? Are they magic zombies? How is the virus transmitted? Are they scared of sunlight? etc. Bunker up, lock the doors, and stay put. Unless the virus can slow body decay to an extreme amount, then the world will be back to normal in around 7 to 8 months. Maybe less if you live in a warm humid climate. Pretty sure we have enough weapons to the point where we can make them our personal butlers. And based on our knowledge through movies, we know how to avoid the pitfalls from zombie butlers, as shown in Fido. With how humans really are, they would be terrified of us within a week. At first I thought you were talking as a zombie, then I realized I just realized it can be read both ways. Most people would be dead. Labor workers will survive for long. The US government would just bomb everything in sight. Everyone in Antarctica have no clue what's going on. It all depends on how hospitals handle it. And if people are smart, they'll barricade themselves in their home with guns, turn off all the lights, and wait for it to blow over. I would calmly move to Washington, D.C. There are no brains there. The zombies would starve. It would be the first effective exclusion zone. IJS. I mean, we'd all probably die before then due to lack of food, medicine, water and stuff. But if we did survive, I think we'd basically live in a community of tree houses. Knowing that we have a very progressive social landscape right now, I can see groups of people banding together to save the zombies, because they have rights too. Pretty well, for the first years it'd be rough, but I'm sure, after about 5 years we'd be fine and find a way to survive and coexist. Pretty well, I doubt our outbreak that spreads akin to rabies would ever get off the ground very well. In the case of being airborne, oh well, it was a pretty good life overall. It depends on what type of zombies. Zombies that have limited motor functions would be easy to eradicate, but zombies that can run, not so well.